In this last lecture, we are going to explore some performance measures. Let's start with some measurement basics. Begin any discussion on lean measurement by recognizing that measurement is waste. It should be limited and minimized. At the same time, recognize that an effective measurement system is one of the most powerful tools for change and for lean transformation that exist. Measurement should provide short-term indicators of problems and no problems. Be part of a feedback loop of surfacing and resolving problems. Relate to learning and capability of the process or people. Focus on improving performance and be capable of being acted upon. There are two basics: measures, not targets. Measures help you to decide what to do, but targets are often associated with rewards, punishments, and motivation. Targets thereby almost invariably encourage deviant behavior. Moreover, when targets are associated with rewards, often ever bigger rewards have to be given. Motivational measures or targets frequently result in cheating, but informational measures can assist improvement. The process, not the person. Deming spoke about the 94-6 rule. 94% of problems can be traced to the process, but only 6% to the person. But often it is the person who is measured, not the process. Start with the assumption that it is the process that is broken, and most times you will be right. Almost everyone has experienced negative measurement, errors, cost overruns, and lateness. And almost everyone has responded by negative emotions, blame, threats, and defensiveness. Most of this can be avoided if you start with the process, not the person. So the manager, not the subordinate, needs to correct the process. Informational measures come in two types: objective, based on facts that can be observed and verified, and subjective, based on opinions or judgment, which therefore have the opportunity for distortion, prejudice, and even revenge. Subjective measures may be hard to avoid, but the user or interpreter needs to be aware of their shortcomings. There are four keys to the success of a measurement system. First, context. Effective measurements can only occur in a positive, supportive context. This is the culture that surrounds the measurement, informational or punishment, process or person. An unfavorable measure is an opportunity, not a threat. We want to expose issues, not suppress them. Focus. Measure the right thing. Be aware of measuring too much. Derive many of the measures from participative policy deployment, not stuck out of the air. Integration. There must be an integrated system for measurement. Measures need to be aligned, balanced, and adaptive. Interactivity. Measures need to be acted on in real time. Two-way interaction. Actually, setting up the measures is only a smart part. How they are used and reviewed is at least as important. Here is a short list of the 7 deadly sins of performance measurements. Briefly with lean transformational examples. They are vanity, measures that are aimed at making the manager look good, a partial lead time improvement, not end-to-end. Provincialism, measuring within department boundary, not the value stream. Narcissism, measuring from your point of view, not the customer's. For example, delivery performance against promised date, not customer's request. Laziness, assuming one knows what is important to measure, not going to the gemba. Pettiness, measuring only a smart part, delivering on time but not in full. Inanity, measuring without thought of the consequences. Prioritizing over equipment effectiveness. Over equipment effectiveness improves, but schedule attainment decreases and batch sizes increase. And frivolity, not being serious. We can't stop the line to look at the problems. Here are some basic lean measures. Arguably, there are 4 basic or prime measures for lean. Each of them encourages all the right moves. Each can be implemented at various levels, from cell to plant, even supply chain. They are also a set to be looked at together. First one is lead time. Measuring lead time encourages inventory reduction, one-piece flow, reduction of flow length, and waste reduction. The measure is best done end-to-end from receiving dock to dispatch. Next best is to track only work in process lead time. Lead time can be measured on a sample basis by tagging a small number of components each month at receiving. Build up the distribution, do not just measure average lead time. You really want to get the shape of the distribution. The narrower, the better. A variation of this measure is to track ONO's timeline, the time between receiving an order and receiving payment, expressed in dollars per hour. This is particularly good since it includes transaction processing time and puts the emphasis on cash flow. Customer satisfaction. Following the first lean principles, monitoring customer is a basic requirement. Do get this measure from customers, not internally from shipments. Sample your customers, internal and external, across all relevant dimensions, cost, quality, delivery as basics, but not also soft measures such as framework, reliability, assurance, tangibles, empathy, and responsiveness. Schedule attainment. It's an internal measure of consistency. Schedule attainment is the ability to hit the target for quantity and quality on a day-to-day basis, line by line or cell by cell, not weekly for the plant. Again, track the distribution. If the schedule is out of line with customer demands, the measure is a waste of time. Inventory turns. It is an established measure. An alternative is days of inventory. Arguably, if you are measuring lead time, it is not necessary to track inventory turns, but do track lead time dock to dock and work in progress inventory turns, rather than overall inventory turns. Because work in progress is fully under your own control, raw materials and finished goods are not fully under own control. QCD-MMS. This is an acronym for a set of measure categories widely used in lean organizations and displayed at each line or area. It stands for quality, internal scrap, rework, and first time through, expressed in parts per million. First time through percentage is parts entering minus parts scrapped or reworked at each stage. Cost, typically a productivity measure, units per person per week. Delivery performance, inbound from suppliers, outbound to customers. Quality on time in full, a delivery that is not 100% perfect on time and in full scores 0. Morale, absenteeism, suggestions or improvements and possibly the result of an attitude audit. Management, communications, extent of cross-training, attendance at shop floor meetings. And safety, accidents, unsafe acts and audit of unsafe conditions. Now let's keep on with target costing, Kaizen costing and cost down. The concept of target costing is well established in Lean. The idea is simply that pricing begins with the market. Target cost equals market price minus target profit. So instead of the price being derived from cost plus profit, the cost is derived from market factors. Target costing is done in anticipation of future demand. In fact, the price may create the demand. Target costing begins with the customer's needs. The target cost of a product can never be exceeded. Unless this is in place, a target costing system will lose its effectiveness and will always be subject to the temptation of adding just a little bit more functionality at a little higher price. There are 3 strands to target costing: allowable cost, product level target cost, and component target cost. Let's examine each one of them. Allowable cost. This is the maximum cost at which a product must be made in order to earn its target profit margin. The allowable cost is derived from target selling price minus target profit margin. Target selling price is determined from 3 factors: customers, competitive offerings, and strategic objectives. The price customers can be expected to pay depends significantly upon their perception of value. Product level target costing. Product level target costing begins with the allowable cost and challenges the designers to design a product with the required functionality at the allowable cost. Sometimes the design team will not know the real allowable cost, but will be set a target which is considered to be a difficult to achieve challenge for motivational reasons. A cardinal rule is that cost must not be allowed to creep up. If an extra function is added, there must be a compensating cost reduction elsewhere. The process of moving in increments from the current cost to target cost is referred to as drifting and is closely monitored. Once the target cost has been achieved, effort stops. There is no virtue in achieving more than is required. Component target costing. Component target costing aims at setting the cost of each component. This is an important strategic consideration because it involves the question of supplier partnership and trust. This figure here shows a hierarchy of approaches and tools. There are three routes to addressing component and product target costs. The first is through market price trade-offs, involving negotiations between designers and marketers and between original equipment manufacturers and suppliers on the sensitivity of price, functionality, and quality. The second area is inter-organizational development. This involves working with supplier partners to achieve cost down. Each company along the chain is expected to participate by a level-by-level process. When waste is identified, supplier companies are either helped to remove it or expected to remove it. The third area is concurrent cost management. This can take place both internally and with immediate suppliers. The idea is to address cost at each level, from concept to production. Ramp-up is an important stage aimed at reducing problems before full-scale production of the new product begins. Once the product goes into production, three other actions may follow. First, further variants may be launched from the base product or platform at strategic intervals to maintain competitiveness by adding functionality or passing on advances in technology or passing on price reductions. Second, further value engineering may take place at regular intervals. The aim is either to reduce cost or to improve functionality. And third, Kaizen costing is undertaken. Kaizen costing is the post-launch version of target costing and aims to achieve target cost levels at specific points. Kaizen costing is not really costing in the conventional sense. The Kaizen way is to target productivity improvements in people, materials, methods, and machines, as identified by audits, benchmarks, waste analysis mapping, and activity sampling in specific periods of time. What the paperwork says about the variances does not matter. What matters is the real tangible improvements in productivity. Kaizen costing targets three areas: the method or facilities, the product, the overheads. Method is targeted by both the policy deployment process, focusing on cost down initiatives, level by level, and by local initiatives carried out by the team. The product is targeted by value engineering. Overheads are targeted using information value stream mapping.